Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our Refugee 101 Lite. Today, we're joined by Jericho Jones, our wonderful volunteer coordinator, and he's going to give us a brief presentation about what are refugees and what services Exodus provides.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Again, my name is Jericho. I'm the volunteer coordinator with Exodus, and my position is really about connecting people in the community to the purpose of facilitating the life ahead for our various clients that come to seek respite in Indiana from all over the world, fleeing various forms of persecution. Our mission statement at Exodus is to be dedicated to the protection of human rights by serving the resettlement needs of refugees and other displaced people fleeing persecution, injustice, and war by welcoming them to Indiana. Exodus itself was founded in 1981 to help welcome Cuban refugees in the wake of the Mariel boat lift. And Exodus actually all started in the basement of a local church only about 1 year after the Refugee Resettlement Act was passed. So since then, we have grown to not only serve refugees, but those seeking asylum, those on humanitarian parole, victims of human trafficking, and other forcibly displaced people from at least 50 different countries from all around the world. In 1951, during the Refugee Convention, it was determined that a refugee is defined as someone who is fleeing a country of their own nationality due to fear of loss of life and or persecution. This persecution can come from many different reasons, such as race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion. These individuals are seeking refuge outside of the country of their origin, and due to their fears, they are unwilling to avail themselves of that country's protection. Here we have some global numbers from UNHCR.org, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. It says in this graphic that 84 million people are forcibly displaced worldwide. With that said, it was announced on May 23rd, 2022, that the number of forcibly displaced people worldwide has actually reached over 100 million for the first time on record. And this is including the evacuation of Afghanistan and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. This means that 1% of the global population is currently displaced. And more than 50% of those displaced individuals are children. So where do refugees come from? The very short answer for that is anywhere in the world where there is ongoing conflict, violence, war, even natural disasters that make a homeland unlivable for its residents. Currently in 2021, as the resettlement program is rebuilding after some political setbacks and after COVID-19, Exodus in 2021 had only seen 131 arrivals, and those individuals came from Afghanistan, Burma, Somalia, the DRC, otherwise known as the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Syria. From Afghanistan, we served 350 evacuees from Afghanistan. And the evacuation of Afghanistan is a rarity in refugee resettlement. The process for normal refugee resettlement pipelines is characteristically very long and arduous. And because of the unique circumstances surrounding this situation in Afghanistan, including the removal of US troops and US presence from Afghanistan, it really necessitated a mass evacuation from all of our allies in Afghanistan as the Taliban took over. Again, it is very rare that we see events such as this take place within the world of resettlement. And many of uh, our friends in the US have adopted a perception that this is the normal way that refugees come to the country. But there are various ways that refugees come to the country, and most of them are a lot longer than what we saw from Afghanistan. So, what are some possible solutions provided for refugee respite across the world? Well, number one is repatriation, a large word that really means the opportunity to return to one's home country. Now, most refugees would love to return to their home country. With that said, this is often not a viable solution, as even after perhaps the initial conflict has subsided, there's often enduring instability that leads to ongoing violence. And in many of these cases, the mass majority of these cases, return to one's home country is not a possibility because the initial conflict really has no end in sight. So option number two is naturalization. When a refugee finds respite in a neighboring country, the hope is that that country would be able to offer citizenship and a pathway to legal status. However, many countries do not provide this as an option, as surrounding countries are often underdeveloped themselves and they don't have the resources needed to absorb the large populations of vulnerable individuals finding respite in their cities. And so the third option is going to be resettlement. That is having a safe place to call home, often traveling a very far way from the place that one used to call home. With that said, only less than 1% of refugees ever get resettled. And only 34 countries in the world offer resettlement services. And if we take the total number of countries in the world, 34 countries only equals about 17% of the world offering resettlement services. Because of this, the US government has to prioritize the most vulnerable of an already very vulnerable population. We we prioritize those who are survivors of violence and torture, women and girls at risk, refugees with acute medical conditions, and refugees with other significant protection needs. With that said, if you were to look at this graphic that we have before you, you would see that there is only one process available for refugee resettlement. One who is fleeing persecution, one who receives a recommendation for refugee status through the UNHCR, which stands for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. After that application is recommended to the US, those profiles get vetted through the US Department of State, also UNHCR, as well as the Department of Homeland Security. And after a long, arduous process of interviews and medical health check screenings, they are admitted access through the US Department of State into our borders. Otherwise, for those who are seeking asylum, there are three different ways that an asylum seeker can enter the US. One, entering on a valid US visa after fleeing persecution, requesting asylum at the border, and having a defensive asylum process, meaning having one's visa expired, but not being able to return home safely. I will say that requesting asylum is a natural human right, and no one should be forcibly removed from a country as they are seeking asylum without just cause. So what does Exodus do to help? Exodus provides as much as we can to facilitate the life ahead for our clients. We start services from day one of arrival all the way up to 5 years. And so for pre-arrival services, we secure housing. If necessary and applicable, we match clients and client families with volunteer groups in the city that will walk alongside them for 90 days. After 24 hours, we facilitate welcomes at the airport. We find culturally appropriate meals so that the family has something to eat. We provide cell phones for emergency contact and agency contact to the family. We conduct first home visits and home and personal safety orientations. Within 30 days, we're completing case management intakes, facilitating health screenings and immunization appointments, applying for Social Security and applicable public benefits such as Medicaid, SNAP, TANF, and WIC. We're providing cultural orientations, transportation orientations, helping the children get enrolled in school if applicable, providing a resettlement plan and other supportive programs. Within 90 days, our focus is really about employment and self-sufficiency, providing financial trainings, computer trainings, English classes, transportation to appointments, and supportive programs, focusing on the fact that rent and utilities will become the financial responsibilities of our clients during this time. And ongoing from that, we're really focusing on supportive programs, more employment help, legal services, citizenship classes, and even family reunification. Well, after 5 years, our families and individuals are eligible for continued legal services and mental wellness advocacy. So thank you so much for joining us for that small journey on understanding how Exodus is supporting people who are courageous, who are brave, and who are very powerful individuals who just need an opportunity to rebuild their life.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jericho. For everyone watching at home, if you'd ever like to learn any more information about what Exodus is up to, or for any volunteer opportunities, you can check out our website, www.exodusrefugee.org, and there you'll find updated volunteer opportunities and can maybe even get in touch with Jericho to see what you can do to support Exodus as we support refugees in our communities. Thanks, everyone. Bye.